All right, so we are talking in this video about identity shifting. Okay, so this is probably one of my top new favorite topics. I'm learning a lot about it from Quasi Joe here, and um, Blanked. I have so many people I'm learning from right now. Uh, Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard. So the idea here, and this is like carried through with all of those authors that we talked about in module 7, the Napoleon Hill, the Earl Nightingale, the Maxwell Maltz, um, especially Maxwell Maltz. Um, and Bob Proctor. All of these people share this as well. So go re-listen to some of that in Module 7 if you're interested in more and more and more about identity shifting. And go read all those books and watch Quasi Joe Here's YouTube channel. He's got tons on identity shifting. I expect to know a lot more about identity shifting in um, uh, some time from now because I'm learning actively about it right now. But I want to share what I've learned so far because it's incredibly powerful. So the basic concept is that if we think about life as there is no time, so the past and the future is right now in the same way that right now is right now, and that there are one second. Hold on, my computer's being silly. Actually, it's being helpful. It's telling me something. Okay, so if we understand all things as now, and if we understand that there are multiple realities in every possibility that ever is, like every possibility that's possible exists right now. So just like if you are looking at a television, okay, you can only see one station at a time, but all of the stations are available and existing. So if Shrek is playing on channel 22 and Little Women is playing on channel 20, if I'm on channel 20, I will see Little Women, but Shrek is still playing. So if I switch over to Shrek, it doesn't like just start. This is old fashioned channels, okay? It doesn't just start when I look at it. It's been going, right? They're both happening simultaneously, even though I'm only seeing one. So when I shift between them, it's not because that one's created, it's already there. It's just that I'm looking at it because I matched the frequency. Or when you go on the radio dial and or the button, right? And you press 94.7 is playing at the same time as 95.6. Okay. So it's just that when I'm frequency aligned with 95.6, I hear 95.6. When I'm frequency aligned with 94.7, I hear 94.7. They are already in existence. So that's how realities are, right? So the me who is here making this YouTube video is on 94.7. The me that is like on a tropical island sipping a virgin margarita with salt on the outside and eating chips and guacamole and chatting with Lily Singh, that one is happening too. It's just on like 97.5. And the me who is like crying in a corner wanting to die is on 93.9. And the me who is every minutia of in between those is on just all the different channels. So it's just a matter of which one I put on the remote. And I put on the remote through what I believe about myself. So if I believe about myself, I can only be in the corner crying when he's die, as I did for almost 20 years. I will see that. If I believe myself to be someone who's like, you know, lower middle income, doing a fun private practice and YouTube channel and courses and living in a condo and having a night of just making videos, then I will experience this one. If I believe myself to be someone who's capable of taking time and hanging out on an island and who is worthy of hanging out with Lily Singh, then I will be doing that. And I am working on that. I did. Okay, folks. No, but for real, the way you bring yourself to another channel, the remote is your attention. Okay. So when I pay attention to things that are like, you're never going to be nothing, then I'm never going to be nothing. When I pay attention to things that are like, oh, you could make a course, make a video, and then put it on a thing and then upload it. Right. So I do that by, I took a class on how to make a digital course. Right. I started talking with some people that I met from the class. So I could be like, how's your course going? I've recorded 3 videos. Like, what platform are you using to upload them? You know, blah, blah, blah. I am going to be a part of a mastermind group where I'm with people who have a bunch of the opportunities that I look forward to having so that I can talk with them about that. I also I'm going to talk about this in another video, the storytelling one in this module. So check that out. I'm going to be sharing in the experience of like, I call it pre-membering. I forget what they call it, like creation, imagination, something. Where we get together once a week and we talk as like ourselves 5 years from now. We just act like that's what's happening and we just like talk about it. So my 5 years from now, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I'm loving the podcast. I'm having so much fun with it. I have the most fabulous guests on. Like the other day, Jay Shetty came on, and 5 years ago, I would have been like, how is that even possible? But now it's like been so cool to connect with people like him. And we're really reaching a lot of people, and people are feeling supported by it and enjoying it. And it feels very meaningful. And I'm having so much fun. And my Be the Change course has really grown and shifted, and people are still getting a lot out of that. And I am feeling really happy about my pacing day to day. I'm feeling like I'm really able to support myself as an animal with getting lots of sleep and like eating really good food. And I've just made so many wonderful friends through this life experience, and my kiddo is like growing up and expanding into like new territory as a young adult, and I am just really looking forward to my I can you tell that I'm enjoying doing this right now in life, because I could go on and on. So I have more that I could tell you about what I would be talking about 5 years from now. But the only reason I have figured all of that out, like what I would want to talk about, is because I've been practicing it. Okay. And I want to share with you Kwasi Johir's tool. It's called the Visualization Cheat Sheet. And you can get this for free on his, how do I share screen? On his website. Okay. It's one of his freebies. Okay. So visualizing reality. So this is a practice, and I encourage you to go check it out and to do it often so that you develop this. I also do something with my coaching clients that I learned from Martha Beck called the ideal day. And we pick a time like a year away, 5 years away. And then we talk through it in this very same method. So lots of different people do this, but okay, so you pick a milestone at least 12 months out. What does life look like once it has been achieved? Visualize that every morning and night. So visualize that every morning and night. That is totally what Neville Goddard teaches as well. So everybody's teaching this, right? It's many, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just many versions of it. Okay. From your current knowledge, what's one step or strategy that you can apply to help you move one step closer towards that? Visualize yourself doing it and being successful with it. So this one can be, I'm telling you, friends, it can be so tiny. Okay. So for example, like I imagined myself being a podcaster, having a podcast like Jay Shetty's On Purpose or like Lewis Howe's School of Greatness. Okay. So what was the one step that I could take? Make a podcast, right? So I made a podcast, and it can be a totally tiny step that's free, right? So making a podcast is free. Just record yourself and upload it for free to one of these podcasting things. Other ways that you could do this would be like, I could imagine like, what are some questions that I would ask if I was having a podcast, if I wasn't quite ready to like do it and release it to the world. I could just like start writing up questions. I could start watching podcasters or learning, take a course on podcasting, buy myself a microphone. And if I, again, like I didn't buy a microphone, so I think a lot of that stuff is unnecessary, but just what are steps that could, little tiny, they call them in the Martha Beck coaching method, turtle steps. What are little tiny things that you could do? Like, what kind of shirt would I wear as a podcaster? Turns out for me, same kind of shirt that I wear all the what kind of hairdo would I want as a podcaster, right? You could do anything that just helps you to feel now what it is that you're imagining feeling. Okay. Intent. Inner intention, the focus on doing something to get an outcome. Outer intention, the focus on how outcome gets achieved of its own accord. So in this philosophy, the how is not important. Okay. It's just the what and the intention to get there. So use inner intention to execute on the process and outer intention to focus on the milestones achievement. So like, I don't need to know exactly how to have Jay Shetty on my podcast. I don't know how the universe is going to bring that about. I just trust that it's going to happen. And I am going to extend myself in faith with the intention to take the next right step, the next right step, the next right step. Please go listen to the next right step, which is on the Frozen 2 soundtrack, because it's a 12-step slogan, and it made my heart so delighted that the Frozen 2 is a dynamite movie, by the way. Frozen 2 has a song like the next right thing, and I love it so much. So do the next right thing. Next right things are very small. Like, I also love the Titanic analogy. If a Titanic size boat is trying to turn, it has to go 1 degree at a time, and it has to turn extremely slowly. That's why it couldn't just get out of the way for that iceberg. So when we're like, I need to be famous and have Jay Shetty on my podcast and have 1 million listeners, like, slow down. Like, believe that if that is like what your soul is calling for you, then it already exists. You're gonna just change the channel to get there. The way to change the channel to get there is to just focus on what it's gonna feel like, imagine into what it's gonna feel like to be there, and then take these little 1 degree turns. Do teeny tiny things. You don't have to know how the universe is gonna help you get there. It could be, I knew that I was going to have this SSP private practice. Okay. I didn't know how the universe was going to bring me there. It turned out the universe brought me there by having one phone call with Jessa Reed, and then having her tell me that she wanted to work on her nervous system, right? It's bizarre ways that the universe will work it out. The universe will do strange things. Let it. You don't have to micromanage the universe. It's got all of the resources of all time and place and wisdom. So let it figure it out. Let it be the GPS. It'll tell you the steps, and you just follow and get excited about that achievement. Okay, this is the fun part. Visualizing the ideal self. What does the one who effortlessly accomplishes my goals look like? What are my 5 key abilities that set this self apart? So for me, what are some of the abilities that make it so that I could be having a podcast episode with Jay Shetty? Willingness to be on recorded and just talk, like enjoyment of talking to others, a long history of like studying and exposing myself to wisdom traditions and healing traditions and going through it myself. And the fact that I started a podcast, that shows me, right? Some yeah, willingness to actually start it. Okay, 5 key habits. What are key habits this ideal self follows without fail? So I'm doing my key habits now, and I imagine myself as the like person who has Jay Shetty on their podcast. My daily walk, my daily meditation, my commitment to sleep, my use of DBT skills daily, and my commitment to interacting with art and creativity on a daily basis. Okay. Style of character. I'm working on this one right now personally. How does this ideal self dress? I'm a cozy person. I love to be cozy. So that's always like numero uno for me. Um, I have a vision that like a whiles back, like several years ago, I envisioned, and then I didn't do it because I didn't feel capable of investing financially. I have this vision of like, I saw this episode of this beautiful cooking show that had this monk in Korea who makes beautiful food at the monastery, and or a nun maybe, and she had this like linen, just like loose shirt with loose pants, and so I envisioned that for myself, and then with this like hand knitted like um variegated rainbow, but like earth tones, jewel tones rainbow, um big cozy sweater, and then like in the cooler months I would have pants made out of that same sweater material, like sweater pants, um and like really cozy like sandals, like Tiva type sandals, and then like really cozy like nice warm shoes for winter months. And then I kind of have this idea about my hair that like it would be kind of like Gelflin type hair. Do you remember the Gelflins from Dark Crystal? Um, so yeah, dig into like what does this person's hair look like? What does this person's, clothes look like? What does this person, whatever? Have so much fun. This is imagination, just like really, and bring as much of those into the now as you can. Okay. Embodiment. This is the best part, friends. When conducting a task, you ask, how would the ideal self do this? So when I'm recording the video, I think, okay, if Jay was on the other, like across, I don't want Jay to be on Zoom. I want to do it like in the real life, like studio type situation. I've been thinking lately, like, what if I had a recording studio office that was like a chapel? Because like all of what I do is like a ritual, is like a holy sacred space. And so like, yeah, imagine myself talking to Jay Shetty in that space, right? So when I'm getting ready to do it just in my room on Zoom, I act as if Jay Shetty's across from me, right? When stuck making decisions, what would the ideal self do? So when I'm deciding how to like put the podcast up or type the description, like how would I do it when I'm in that phase of like I have a podcast that is really making a difference in the world, right? Okay, so the key is who you pretend to be is who you'll become. And I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole yet because I'm just learning this concept, but imagination, I have been with my clients, I always say, we're tapping into your imagination to connect with your subconscious. This is not like we say, oh, I'm making it up as if that discredits it. But actually, we're tapping into the ancient wisdom traditions of like all indigenous people who use visioning to get information, like holy information, right? Wisdom. So we have a negative connotation with imagination for some reason, but it's actually our most powerful tool. And Neville Goddard has like a whole thing about imagination and how imagination is actually like the Christ, like Jesus Christ type creator power, that like Jesus Christ is just a representation or an identification or personification of imagination. And that like our imagination is where everything exists, which I'm really starting to believe. So it's I think Earl Nightingale, right? Who says, um, oh, I'm like, where is it? It's up in my bathroom. But it's that you become what you think, right? So when the more time you spend imagining and asking yourself, do you remember those little WWJD bracelets? What would Jesus do? So the idea is, what would my ideal self do? Get to know your ideal self all the time that you spend rethinking conversations that you had in the past, rethinking what mistakes you had in the past, rethinking blah, 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 agonizing over what this other person thinks of you. Put that energy, like when you notice a judgment thought coming up, or a shame, or a resentment, or a self-criticism come up, tell yourself, okay, I hear you. And I can imagine when I am so grateful now that I am relaxing in my four-season porch sunroom with a cup of hot tea and reading the most fascinating book and listening to beautiful classical music in the background and petting my dog, right? Just like daydream actively. And when you're feeling like icky or stuck or confused, say, what would my ideal self do? Right? Like that scene that I just painted, I don't have that. I don't have a dog even, right? But I believe that that channel already exists, and that all I have to do is switch to that channel through my attention. And that's actually the 2-cup method of Jessa Reed, is just a practice of being like, okay, what does it feel like to be in the current state? And then paint the picture of the thing that you want and imagine into it, feel it as if it's real, pour the water from the old one into the new one, drink it, right? So you're being the new self. You're actually imbibing it. It's very cool, like ritualistically, symbolically. Okay, so identity shifting. People try on, first of all, imagine and ground into really knowing who this person is that you want to become. Okay, what values do they have? How do they take their tea or coffee? What do they do first thing in the morning? And start doing that on every level that you can. Dress like them, act like them, purchase like them. You know, be wise about finances. Only spend money that you have. And if you want to spend money and don't have it, make more money, right? I know it sounds oversimplified, but it turns out if you decide to make more money, you will make more money. It's bizarre. Live into this ideal self or future self in such a way that it's almost like they're a character in a play and you are studying them. So if I'm going to play Captain Hook in Peter Pan, I'm going to think about like, how does Captain Hook like walk? How does Captain Hook chew? How does Captain Hook like look at other people? And then I'm going to start practicing that so that I can really be Captain Hook. I'm going to study the character and then I'm going to practice it. That's what we're doing. We're creating a character for ourselves. We're going to study it. We're going to fill in all those gaps, like with that identity worksheet I showed you from Quasi. And then we're going to practice it. We're going to practice it in every way that we can. Okay. Talk like them, chew like them, dress like them, act like them, spend money like them in ways that are, don't only spend money that you have is my advice. Don't do any credit type thing. Like people who are like, I'm manifesting by putting a $10,000 vacation on a credit card. It's like, that's not manifesting. Sorry if you've done that. I have no judgment. I clearly do have judgment, but I realize it was judgment, so I apologize, and I do not wish to judge you. But living into it, it's so fascinating. And I am going to share in another video how Bashar explains this same concept through storytelling. So this one's interesting because it goes into our our past as well, which I think is really cool, not just the future. So check out that video and I'll see you there.